Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 2 for you today between TT1 and EG's Idra. We can see TT1 here spawning in the upper right position as the green Protoss, and in the bottom left, the blue Zerg here is EG's Idra. This is game number 2 in the best of 3 series. We did see Idra prevail last game with some really early game aggression, cutting his drone production, pushing out with a strong Roach and Speedling push against the 3-gate fast expand that we did see TT1 go for. I'm going to say this is all but, this was pretty much unexpected completely by TT1 because Idra, again, infamously known for his macro playstyle, kind of switching things up and going for some early game aggression. And actually, in all honesty, in the recent games that I've seen him play, I'm starting to see more and more variation from him, and this is really good. The evolution of a player, you know, when you're in a set situation where you're always doing the same thing, it really leaves you open to exploitation from your opponents. So being able to mix things up and being able to be a little bit of a wild card is definitely a good thing to have in your arsenal. I would say players, especially like the little one, I mean, he is almost known as the wild card player, the player who always mixes things up and always doing wild and zany things. And it doesn't necessarily need to be consistently part of your game plan, but at least having that option and having that available to you, or doing it every once in a while, is certainly going to be a good idea. Alright, so last game we did see Idra start off on one base, and as I mentioned last game, you're typically seeing him do this, especially on these smaller maps, but I feel like on larger maps, he's going to be more prone to go just for that 15 or 14 hatch, and it looks like that is precisely what he's going to be doing. So there you have it, being here on Tal'Daram Altar on this second game in this best of 3 series, given the sheer size of the map, he's going to feel pretty comfortable to just go straight for that fast expo, and again, that's precisely what we're seeing him do. Using that first initial Overlord, of course, or the second Overlord that pops to spot his expansion. You should always do this as well as a Zerg player. This Overlord, you're going to want to check if there's any sort of shenanigans or harassment going on from both your Protoss and Terran opponents, looking for bunker placements and looking for pylon placements and where the probe's going and what he's doing. That is clearly always going to be a good idea. Now, we have a second probe coming out right now from TT1, so TT1 going to be looking to do some shenanigans right now. I can already tell we do have that Forge down for that Forge fast expand, but at the same time, he does have that option to cannon, and he is going to be doing some big time shenanigans here. 2 pylons down. He's got to get the third. No, doesn't manage to get the third down. He is going to be careful. There's going to be an attempted surround here, and actually there we go, canceling off those 2 pylons. Now, he's still got the 2 probes here, and he still does have that option to do the harassment, but it looks like since he didn't fill that wall off and he didn't complete it, which his attempt there was to actually force Idra to cancel this expo, if he had gotten that full wall off, Idra would not have been able to get us around on those pylons, and he would have almost been forced to cancel that expo. If he didn't, then we probably would have seen cannons, and he would have lost the expansion as it were. So very nice play there by Idra, managing to get his drones up and prevent that type of harassment from going on. In response, looks like TT1, after canceling his pylons, just went ahead, dropped, sorry, my friggin' camera's all over the place, trying to adjust my mouse here mid-cast. He did go ahead and just drop that expansion, as well as the gateway, and we're going to be seeing a cannon here as well, so there you go. May very well be seeing a second cannon. One cannon is almost a little bit almost not enough in a lot of situations, so we may be seeing him go for a second cannon, either in this corner or maybe over here, so can shoot down on the ledge. But we will, of course, have to wait and see. Right now, Idra finally moving out. He wants, of course, to find out where his opponent is. He's going to be spotting this fast expansion. He doesn't even need to move in to actually know the fact that this is what's going on here. He is well aware of the quick expo, but he's actually going to be moving in his worker regardless to try to get some scouting just in case he wants to check for anything fancy. Not expecting much at this point, though, because obviously all of TT1's resources have been invested into this frontal wall off as well as that expansion there. Rerouting the 1 Overlord, going to be having a chill out over here, maybe sitting in this position so he can check if an expansion goes up here, and he'll also be able to use the Overlord to sacrifice into the main for later tech scouting later down the road. Idra, of course, in this game, given the large map size, it looks like he is going to be macroing up and not doing that crazy early aggression that we did see him do last game. You can see guys off the gas right now, allowing him to drone up a little bit harder. We can see tons of drones, just consistent drone production working its way on through. Taking a look there, he is slowly climbing and gaining an advantage over TT1 in terms of worker count, just because he's investing all of his resources into this. Now, of course, going to want to see those early game Zerglings. Right now, they are working on these rocks. After that, going to expect them to grab some Xel'Naga towers. You do need to make sure that you have that vision. You do need to be certain of what's going on and what your opponents are doing. Very interested, actually, to see why that oh, he's got 2 kills. Okay, I completely missed. I completely missed some Zergling harass there. I greatly apologize for that. That is no bueno, no buenos noches at all. Idra coming out with a third right here in the bottom right position, more like the 6 o'clock or maybe a little bit closer to 5:30. I don't know. Anyways, yes, coming out with an expansion over here. Very interested to see that he went for that quick third. Obviously, the reason being is that he knows TT1 has this expansion up, and it's going to be quite some time before these Zerglings are actually able to whittle down these destructible rocks. So he wanted to get up that third. He didn't want it to be too delayed, so that's precisely why he went for the placement over here. We do have the one Zergling scouting out over here. Now, where did that Zealot go? Looks like that Zealot is in fact heading back home. He does have those 2 kills. Really, I'm really surprised actually. I wonder. And there's 1 kill over here as well for that for the Stalker. Stalker, I'm guessing, is that drone, but there must have been 2 Zerglings that headed out, and unfortunately walked right into the fist of those Zealots. Again, I apologize for missing that bit of action. I was just talking tomfoolery, I'm sure, at the time. Roach Warren is up. We do have the level 1 upgrade coming on through from the Evolution Chamber here for Idra as well, working his way on up to the layer, and there we go. We do have that expansion up, obviously with the Zergling scouting to see if there are any units that are aware from TT1 that are aware of this expansion. Right now, TT1 does not know about that expansion. He hasn't scouted it out. He really does have no idea about that. So as of now, Idra is safe. Now let's take a look for TT1. What does he got going on? We got 3 gateways coming out right here. 1 gateway already up, so he's going to be sitting on the 4. Also with this Robo here, first going to be using that Observer. Probably going to be making that transition into either Colossus or maybe even trying to get some Immortals out into play if we see Idra go pretty Roach heavy. And in all honesty, that's pretty much a strong likelihood. Although right now, taking a look, there are no Roaches, just 6 Zerglings on the map, all but 1 of which are right here, and the other one here scouting out. No Roaches in play doesn't mean Idra is like going to be hurting. He's just been working so strong on his economy. You can see he even has his 3rd pretty well saturated right now. And what's going to happen is that Roaches, as we can see right now, are going to start streaming in after Idra has that layer up and he starts getting the upgrades. And this is kind of the macro heavy typical play style that you see a Zerg player go for against a Protoss player, especially one who goes for a Forge Fast Expand or a 3-gate expand. Doing this type of build is going to set you up in a really nice position because you'll have a strong econ, and you're not going to really need to defend yourself early on because with the Fast Expand build, the Protoss player won't be pushing out anytime early. So you can hold off on that Roach strong army for quite some time, and that's precisely what Idra did. Also got 11 more Roaches coming out right now. We can see, it looks like it is going to be Immortals here from TT1. Also a ton of gateways, and again, Immortals going to do really well against that Roach-heavy army. So, you know, TT1 definitely setting himself up in a good spot. A couple of Zerglings spotting these Xel'Nagas. Soon as that push does come from TT1, if it's coming anytime soon, then Idra, of course, will be aware of that. And actually, wow, leaving those rocks just with a little bit of HP left, not destroying them quite at this moment, because it does look like TT1 has decided that he is going to push out. We do have a pretty strong push right now. Let's take a quick look here at the army tab. Idra does have a distinct advantage right now. Now with warp gates, TT1 is going to be able to try to make up that disadvantage that he has at the moment. Hopefully he's bringing a probe. Yes, he is. Probe coming down with him for the proxy pylon. We do have that level 1 armor upgrade that is just about finished right now, and not chrono boosting through at the moment, but that should be pretty much near completion once he does push forward for this attack. We can see Idra moving out with these overlords, spreading out that creep. That's going to help these Roaches engage this army a little bit better. And, you know, Idra's fully aware of this because he did have those towers as the push was coming through from TT1. So this is definitely going to be some strong aggression. We do have a ton of Roaches coming through. 1 Overseer over here as well. Is that scouting, or is that going to be used just in case for cloak detection? Looks like that will be used for cloak detection. I'm not sure where it is quite at the moment, but we should be seeing it sometime soon. But anyways, here comes a push right now. Guardian Shield going down. Some good force fields here from TT1, trying to push back the army here of Idra. There is the Overseer again, just in case maybe be able to catch any sort of DT if they were in the mix. And actually, it looks like TT1 is retreating just for the moment, maybe just trying to get some reinforcements. Idra continuing up this production right now. He's got 12 Zerglings, one more Roach here as well. Also, that level 2 range upgrade coming on through. Idra does, of course, need to be very careful about where he engages. Guardian Shield going down again. There are some nice force fields again, and so much time of the army of Roaches not being anywhere near here, the units here of TT1, and TT1's doing a really good job of kind of boxing himself in here from the army of Idra. Idra having a hard time, and this is not looking good right now for Idra. There are still a lot of Stalkers, and there's a lot of units right now for TT1 and Idra. Oh, Idra just leaving the game clearly not that happy with force fields, because he was in a position to actually do well against that, but with that force field wall off, it did not work in his favor. Idra started this game out with a very quick expansion of 15 hatch and then dropped the pool after. Now in scouting this and going for a Forge Fast expand himself, we did see TT1 try for a little bit of harassment. What we're going to see here is he tries to go for that pylon wall off, and were he to complete that, he would have been in a great position to actually force the cancellation of this Expo from Idra. After the failed wall off, TT1 just went ahead and dropped the Nexus at his expansion, got up the gateway, and then went for that full wall off with the cannons as early game defense. Scouting the Forge Fast expand, Idra then moved into his 3rd, and TT1 just stayed on the 2 bases and macroed up to try to get a really strong early game army. Realizing that no too early game pressure would be coming out from TT1, Idra was able to macro up pretty hard, getting nice saturation at all 3 of his bases, getting upgrades as well, and then working on his Roach army. Then at around the 11:30 mark, we did see that first big engagement. TT1 pushed out with some aggression, and what we're going to see is some just fantastic usage of force fields here. TT1 just able to box in his army, keep him nice and defended, away from the Roach army that would typically be comparable to what TT1 had. But again, we're going to see the second engagement right here, and with the great use of force fields, TT1 was able to shoo back the entire army of Idra, and this actually just forced Idra to go ahead and up and leave the game. He was just not too thrilled with the way this engagement went. So there you go, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this game. This was game number 2 in this best of 3 series between these 2 players. They are now tied up 1-1. Stay tuned as we move on to game number 3 in just one moment. As always, guys, if you like the content, please do go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Keep watching and keep owning.